Now, it looks like Trish Whitcomb is here. Is Mike Schmuhl here somewhere? I don't see Mike.
He won't be joining us until a little bit later.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, Trish, if you don't mind, or if the body doesn't mind, I'm going to change the order of business and allow Trish Whitcomb to speak. She's running for party chair for the state of Indiana. And I have told both her and Mike Schmuhl that I'd give him 10 minutes to address the body. And so if you would like to, Trish, I would be more than glad to have you lead or tell us what you're wanting to do and what your plan is.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And of course, I have an unfair advantage because Virginia Ross and I used to be on the swim team together. So, you know, yay. That was a little bit ago though. So, and I know Cindy and I know Dale because they were, Virginia, are you blushing? I'm sorry.
Oh, it was just a few days ago, Trish.
I know, right? Do you, wait, I'm sorry, I just have to ask her. Do you still swim?
You betcha.
See, I got to get back to it. Jill still swims. You know, Jill Steinberger, she still swims.
Well, I
So.
swim the mile at Boy Scout camp every summer in the lake.
Oh, goodness.
Cool, cool. Well, and I know Dale and Cindy from their legislative races because they got support from the Hoosiers for Public Education PAC, and Dale is very good friends with some of our board members. So thank you for having me here tonight. I wish I was there in person, and but this is what we're doing now. I am running for state chair because I have the background and the skills and the statewide network to do the job that we need to do. It's more than a full-time job, and I am at a point in my life where I can devote all my time to this. And so a little bit about my background, if you don't know. I am from Seymour, graduated from Seymour High School. And, and we're having our reunion this year. And then I went to Butler. And then I went to the University of Wyoming for graduate school. And I had a teaching assistantship there. So I have a checkered past of working in politics and banking and nonprofits. And the most important thing I think I can tell you about me is that I grew up and have evolved with the direct voter contact, the whole math and science of targeting voters and getting the right message to them and holding their, literally sometimes, but usually electronically or in the mail, holding their hands and getting them to the polls. We only win when the turnout is high, and everybody knows that. And that's why you see so many of the Republicans putting forth rules to suppress voter turnout. We need to get out there. I want to start with county parties. And I know that there was a victory plan that was circulated by Central Committee. I'd like to start over with every county. And I'd like you to bring in your stakeholders because you may have nonprofits whose missions align with democratic values. You may want them to be part of the discussion. I have some ideas about boosting local fundraising. And we had a little webinar last night about a phone app that I think is really great for bringing low dollar, recurring low dollar donors into your donor base. And so these are the concrete ideas that not only are they ideas, they are things that I have used. And I know that they will work. And so I would really like to give the rest of my time to questions.
Okay.
I want to know what you want to know. And I want you to tell me what you expect of a state chair.
Anybody have any questions for Trish?
I'll go. So I guess the main question I have coming into, can you hear me?
Well, who is it?
Oh, it's Ruben Guthrie, by the way.
Okay, thanks, Ruben. I can't see you, but thank you.
No, you're fine. So I guess the main question I have, and I think about sort of a two-pronged question, but The first part is, and obviously, in order to affect the political game on the state level, we have to be in it. So that's my way of asking, what is your plan to help us win more elections statewide and in other local places? And I guess the second part of that is, and I understand if you don't have specifics on this, but do you have any particular plans that would be pertinent to this county or this general area in particular?
I do indeed. I'm so sorry. Are you a commissioner or a council member?
I am an advisory board.
Oh, Township Advisory Board?
Yes, yes.
Okay. For anybody who thinks I'm going to say I have the silver bullet to elect a US Senator in 2022, I will disappoint you very, very much right now and tell you that that's not where we're going. I mean, we would love to, do that. This whole year that we have 2021, this is where we're going to get out and we're going to talk with folks and we're going to put some plans together. Some of our caucuses, like the Young Democrats, have a 5-year strategic plan. Have they shared that with you? I'm sure you have YDs in Bartholomew County. I'm sure that if they knew that there was a plan like that, it might help you bring them in too. So these are the kinds of internal and external, vertical and horizontal communication issues that we can resolve if we put a structure to it. And technology, I don't know if any of you guys use Slack at work or you have an intranet for your workplace. These are the things that our party should be providing all the counties so we can talk to each other, know what each other's doing. So back to your question about what is the first thing I'm going to do when I'm chair, I would like to have an in-depth data analysis of the last 3 election cycles for every county and take it down to the precinct level. And let's take a look. I love data, but I don't think it is, I think it's a tool. It is not a decision maker. But let's take a look at that. Where have we gained? Where have we lost? Are we getting new people moving into a certain part of the county? These are the very important questions every county needs to ask. And so I would like to provide that, though, to the counties because, I'm a number cruncher. David Galvin, who worked with me on Glinda Ritt's victory in 2012, he's available. And then I have a very good, Cindy, do you know Mary Noon? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have just pointed that out. But she was with 25 Women for 2020. She was on the Joe Biden Data Coalition, and she's been helping me with a lot of numerical challenges. So we have people who have skills that we all need, but they need to be pushed out to the counties.
Like Schmuhl.
And so I would be very happy if we could make a dent in the 88% edge that the Republicans have at the county level right now. Are you guys aware of that? That 88% of county elected officials in Indiana are Republicans. Now, I don't know how we're going to, elect a senator if we are starting in that position on the ground. So, and I also want to say, and I'm not going to name the counties, but we had 9 counties in Indiana where there were no Democrats, none, zero, zip, nada, running for county office in 2020. So these are some very basic things that I would like to address and help counties, if they want our help.
Hey, Trish, we have one more question for you here, then I think your time is going to be up here, won't you?
Okay.
I have a question too, Steve. If I can
Okay.
get-
Okay.
Hi, Ross Thomas. Really appreciate you being here. Had a question, kind of a strategic question. We've seen in the past that the state party, particularly for state rep races and Senate races, have sort of pick and choose and support certain candidates and then leave others sort of flapping in the wind. And
Yep.
I wondered what your position was. Do you think it's a better policy to go all in for a handful of races and leave the rest, or perhaps bring everybody in and try to help as many as you can?
I'm a 92 county strategy person, and I think that with the redrawing of the maps, as bad as the Republicans are going to want to make those maps for us, building strong infrastructure in neighborhoods, in cities, in counties, that is how I don't know, if somebody else has another idea, I would love to hear it. But that is the only way I think we can be effective at trying to overcome the disadvantages that they are going to build into that map.
Yeah.
And so as far as here's the thing, and I know Cindy knows this, and I know Dale knows this. There's a separation between the state party and the caucuses, whether you run in the House or Senate. And those caucuses pick their folks, and I think maybe in many ways they do know who might be a good legislative candidate. They're in there. But I think we need to help everybody. How can we expect anybody to step up to the plate if we aren't helping everybody? And I think our budget is too low. The state party operates on about a $1.25 million budget right now. I think we need to take that up to $2 million at least. And real quick, I'll tell you, we don't have a structure for cultivating large dollar donors. We don't really have a structure for engaging people who could give $20 a month or $50 a month or $100 a month. We don't have any of that. And so it is time for us to start using, the good sense that God gave a goose and put some structure to this stuff.
That was the right answer, by the way. There was one more question. I didn't see who it was, though.
It's me, Hannah.
Oh, okay, Hannah, go ahead.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi. Hi. So I have a question in terms of, well, it's not a secret that diverse communities most often come out for Democrats. So do you have a plan in terms of reaching out to diverse communities? And if you do, what is that plan? What does that look like?
Oh, yeah, inclusion. You mean bringing more people into our party than we have now, or making opportunities for young and underrepresented populations to be involved? I'm going, either way. What I have to say about that, I was the president of the Indiana Federation of Democratic Women in 2013 and 14, or was it 14, 15. And I had some representatives from diverse populations come and say, where are our people? And I'm like, I think you're the best one to answer that. We have put the welcome mat out for everyone. And I think that our party, but I will say, I think that our party has pockets of implicit, people who hold very strong implicit bias. And that's not going to help us. And so, believe it or not, there are some people who are prejudiced against Bernie Sanders supporters. There are people who are prejudiced against indivisible supporters. We got to open our arms and let all these folks in. But at the same time, that's why I think the caucuses are so important, because the caucuses are intended to represent the underrepresented groups. I'd like to see a stronger working relationship with the caucuses in the counties so that everyone feels welcome and everyone feels that they see somebody like them and they know that they have a place in the Democratic Party. Does that sound good? I mean, does that answer your question?
That's excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Trish.
That's it?
You did it. Thank you very much.
Okay, may I just, wait a minute, I would like to, if it's okay, Steve, I would like to put my contact information in the chat to everybody. And then that way, if you want to follow up with any questions, you have any kind of, you want to talk on the phone, you want to email, text, I don't care, it'd be great. So my phone number is 812-767-2050. And my email is Steve, are you getting my emails?
Yes.
Okay, good. And anybody else who wants them, they can have them. Oh, I have a Facebook page, and it is called Together We Win with Trish on Facebook. And my campaign mailings are, the things you just got, like Steve, I stand with our union
Right.
employees. Those will all be posted up on there. So
Okay.
thank you. And thank you, everybody, for letting me talk to you tonight.
I
Take
appreciate
care.
it. Thank you, Trish. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very
Bye-bye.
good candidate. Now our second speaker has arrived, Mike Schmuhl. Did I pronounce your name right? Young man?
You did, Steve. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna pin you so they can see you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay, Steve?
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Hey. All right, sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, everybody.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm in kind of a weird spot. I'm actually out with my parents for dinner. They got their second vaccine shots a couple weeks ago. So we decided to come out and have a meal together. First time in a very long time that we've been able to do that in public. And I know a lot of folks are in the same boat. It was great to be with you tonight. I am originally from South Bend, Indiana, born and raised where I'm at right now. And I don't know if folks know a little bit about my background, but I'm happy to chat about that briefly and then get into my platform to hopefully lead our party into this next decade. I first got my start in politics working for a person that we all, I think, know, and that is Joe Donnelly, who was our congressman 10 years ago when I decided to get involved in public service and politics. And so I managed Joe's race for Congress in 2010, which was a very tough year for our party, very tough year for Democrats, but we won and we came out of that. And a couple years later, Joe, as we know, became our United States Senator. Around the same time, I was on the campaign trail, and a friend of mine from high school, Pete Buttigieg, was running for state treasurer. We all remember that, running against Richard Murdoch. And so we joined forces after that cycle, and he ran for mayor of our hometown. So I was his chief of staff. I served on the second district as part of the central committee for about a year and a half, and have worked with Shelley Yoder, who's down in Bloomington, obviously, and Mel Hall, who ran for Congress in our area in 2018. And of course, the biggest sort of adventure that I've had politically was Pete for America, which was Pete's race for president. And so I was the first employee of that effort a couple of years ago, and that grew to become the largest political campaign in Indiana history. We hired over 600 people, raised $100 million, and Pete is now, as we know, not Mayor Pete anymore. He's Secretary Pete, and so he is off in Washington as the first openly gay cabinet secretary in U.S. history. Something that I'm really, really proud of, and representing Indiana quite well. I have 5 sort of pillars to my platform to lead our party into the next few years. The first one starts with a multi-year strategic plan. I think that our party needs a plan that we can all rally around, understand, know where we fit in, that helps us secure victories up and down the ballot in the years ahead. We need something that excites Democrats, gets people to invest, not just their money, but their time, their effort, their sweat, to help us build back. We didn't get to kind of where we are in a few tough cycles overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. I think we need to be honest with ourselves about that. But I think a long-term strategy will bring everybody together and help us secure those victories over the cycles coming up. Number 2, and Trish touched on this, and something that I fully advocate for, is we need to raise the resources to be competitive. We need to raise a lot more money to go toe-to-toe with Republicans, not just at the state level, but state leg, state senate, county level, organizing modules across the state. We need to have a better finance party so we can have a stronger party. So that's really, really important at the top of my agenda. And as I said, we raised $100 million for the Pete campaign. Not saying we're going to raise $100 million for Indiana, but hopefully we get that needle going in the right direction. Thirdly is we need to invest in the grassroots. That's something that I have been really clear on ever since I got on this race about 3 weeks ago. We're only as strong as our county partners. And we need to put together a lot more, I think, infrastructure to help county parties grow and prosper. I've been fortunate enough to work at the national level, and I've talked with chairs from other states. And Jamie Harrison, who's now our DNC chairman, is a friend of mine. And there is going to be more party building, more party investment, more data, more infrastructure, just more stuff that goes into our party, regardless of where you live, rural, suburban, urban. And that gives me a lot of hope. And so I hope to be a part of that effort for our state. Another thing is bringing more people into the process. I think it relates to the strategic plan, but there are a lot of legacy organizations, new organizations, nonprofits, groups that have been created across our state that are doing good work. But I often think that, sometimes people feel like they're treading water. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last few weeks is how do we fit into a bigger whole? How do we fit into a bigger piece of the whole puzzle for our party and to gain strength? And so I think that coordination, that collaboration, and bringing people together so everybody kind of knows what they're supposed to do that day, that week, that month, that quarter will be really important. And lastly, something that I'm kind of a dork on is technology. 10 years ago when I worked for Joe, we updated his website and he thought it was like the biggest thing ever. Nowadays, it's social media, it's apps, it's data, it's analytics, it's misinformation, it's disinformation, it's videos, it's graphics, it's every single day. You got to be working at that stuff to stay relevant and to stay in the conversation. And in order to defeat Republicans and push back against some of the stuff that they're pushing, we need to be at the top of our game as it relates to technology. It also helps with being more efficient. It also helps with raising more money. And I've built a lot of these tools in my career, and I want to do it for our state. So that's where I'm at. I need to mention that I also have a running mate. And I joked with Pete and Joe that for the first time in my life, I'm a candidate, and I'm also my own campaign manager. So I'm not just the campaign manager this time. I am also doing all the candidate things too. But I have a running mate. She's amazing. Her name is Mila Eldridge. So for those who don't know Mila is the Marion County clerk in Indianapolis. And so she's the first African-American elected to that position in county history. Mila's background is incredible. She is a voting rights advocate. She has run massive elections. She's campaigned in front of 700,000 voters to win that seat. And I think that our skills are extremely complementary. My experience, as you know, is mostly national and federal, and her experience is county and local. And so I thought it was important to have a balance in the ticket and also to have a woman and a woman of color run alongside me for this post. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Maybe just a couple, mom and dad are probably, looking for their next beer or something, but it's great to be with you tonight. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions?
Hey, Mike Shoemaker here. Thanks for putting your name forward and doing this and wanting to help us out. And I think a lot of us were really impressed with what Stacey Abrams did in Georgia and enfranchising a whole bunch of people that aren't normally voters and flipping a state that a lot of us thought was deep red for a long, long time blue. Where do you see Indiana's best opportunity to try to pull a Stacey Abrams?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mike. And I think I don't know if you've circulated this as a party, but I would urge everybody to read Stacey Abrams and her campaign manager Lauren's longer piece in the New York Times of about 10 days ago. And it's aptly titled "How to Turn Your Red State Blue." But there's a deep dive into how they did it in Georgia, and that it was a 10-year dedicated strategy to flip it. And what did they do? They delivered an electoral votes for Joe Biden for president, and they delivered the Senate for the Democrats. That is a massive payout in terms of the investment that they put in that state. I think what I think is there are some lessons that we can learn from that, especially around organizing, especially around how they brought people to the table, how they coordinated kind of with different parts of their party and groups that were working outside the party. Also, one thing that they said that I thought was really interesting is sometimes you lose, but sometimes you lose better.
Right.
You don't get blown out by 40 points. Maybe you lose by 10 points. But then a cycle later, that same person runs again and their name ID is 100% and they win. And so I think there are valuable lessons there. I think Indiana is unique. Every state is different. We are different. We're different than Georgia. We are different from Wisconsin. We're different from Iowa. We're different from Nevada. But I think what we need to do is we need to build a strategy based on our strengths and what we have, and devise a message from that appeals to a larger section of Hoosiers. And that's it at the end of the day. And I'm hopeful because, Joe Biden's doing a great job already. Jamie Harrison's in there as DNC chair. And the Republican Party is fractured at the top, right at the top with Trump. They're trying to figure out, do they stay with Trump? Do they leave Trump? And you're seeing those divisions here in Indiana, in the State House. We've seen it with Holcomb. You see that here. And I think that we need to call that out. And we need to have a narrative then that people look to and say, oh, I can get behind that. That's clear. I understand what they're going to do for me. I understand what they're going to do for my family. And let the Republicans kind of, fight like cats and dogs while we have a very clear, concise, sort of mission-focused message and how we're going to help people. So for me, it's an all of the above approach. It's an all of the above how we raise money. It's an all of the above how we organize. It's an all of the above who we reach out to. And I am not opposed to at all reaching out to disaffected Republicans, folks who are fed up with Trump, fed up with that style of politics. And if we can rebrand ourselves and say, hey, come on over here, the water's fine. I think we can win. I think we can win some races over time and gain back strength.
Excellent. Excellent, Mike. Anyone else have any questions? We're running short on time. He wants to go.
I have a question, Steve.
Go ahead.
Hi, Mike. Cindy Worth.
Hey, Cindy.
Question was two parts. Kind of, you can look at it from two different ways. So if you're not selected for the state party chair, what will you do to continue to support and assist everyone? And then the flip side is, if you are selected for the chair, how will you utilize Trish and her skills? Because I think she's already put that offer out there.
Yeah, if I don't assume the chairmanship, it's not going to change a thing. It is a title, but I'm more interested in the work than a title. I moved home 10 years ago to get involved in hometown politics and state politics, to give back, and to ultimately help people get elected to positions that I believed in and that they could make a difference in people's lives. And that's not going to change. Indiana's my home. I was born and raised here. The state's given me a lot, and I've gained a lot of skills over the last 10 years that I think are applicable to helping our party rebuild. So if I'm not the chair, I will basically do whatever I can to help us gain strength and to win. It's been sort of my guiding star for the last 10 years, and I don't expect that to change. Trish and I have had some great conversations. We've spoken 3 or 4 times over the last few weeks, and she's great. And I think that we also have, very complementary skills. Trish has a huge network around the state. She's so experienced, has worked with so many different people, knows so many different people in all the counties. And we just have sort of a different kind of blend of experiences. But that's the beauty of the Democratic Party, is everybody has a place, everybody has a role. And I sincerely hope that after the vote, we all come together like we have to in order to win.